All right, let's see what is going on here right now. This is what you would call the midweek report on September 20th, 2020. And we have a few things that we wanted to, go over and go through for this particular report. A lot of things have been, going on and going down, right? It's been, fairly active week of sorts. We've kind of like talked about a few things here. I've had, a, you know, kind of like a scheduled podcast that was, on Tuesday. We kind of like push it back from Sunday to Tuesday. Was talking about the fights that went down, the Yordenis Lucas fight, the Jamel Herring fight, among others. And, a few things have been going down since then, you know, um, particularly in reference to, what, two world champions, so to speak. So we wanted to, get into that topic for this particular live session and also go into the whole thing between Canelo Alvarez, Golden Boy Promotions, and DAZN. You'll have the video on the channel there earlier to talk about Free Canelo. And I kind of briefly went down what was happening with that. Canelo Alvarez is, filing a lawsuit towards DAZN, Golden Boy Promotions, for, breach of contract, so to speak. So, and, with that being said, it's going to be a pretty sticky situation when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, Golden Boy Promotions, and DAZN. And, hopefully, I will talk about that for a little bit on this live midweek report. But, in, I would say about 12 minutes or so, I'm going to see if I could check in with someone that I've had as a, guest on the Boxing Source radio show multiple times and have interviewed through the YouTube channel. So hopefully they'll be able to get in to kind of like give their take on what's been going on within who they are involved with. So that's going to be something that you don't want to, get on this particular live midweek report. But we have a few things that have been going on and going down. You also had the signing of a fight that many boxing fans have been anticipating since the beginning of this year, or I would say since December, and that is the unified lightweight championship when you have Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Vasyl Lomachenko has the WBA and the WBO lightweight titles. He is also the WBC franchise champion, right? And Teofimo Lopez is the IBF lightweight champion after defeating Richard Commey by a second round stoppage to win that IBF belt in December. And once that fight was over, that's when they pretty much stated that, okay, we're going to have Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez for those unified lightweight titles. Um, and there was a whole lot of back and forth over the course of the year. Even before this whole thing with the pandemic, they were seeing if they were going to make this fight for April, but it wasn't officially signed off, in January or February or even March, because there was an issue with the manager of Vasyl Lomachenko, Igor Klimas, having an issue with having Vasyl Lomachenko fight in Madison Square Garden at that particular time. So that's why, the Vasyl Lomachenko Teofimo Lopez fight wasn't official up until that point. And so we had the whole thing with the COVID-19. So you really couldn't have any fights take place. And then once we had Top Rank with those fights over at the Bubble in Las Vegas, the buzz started to come back up again about having a fight between Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. But still, for a little while, it wasn't official. And then we had a few weeks ago the whole thing with Teofimo Lopez saying $1.2 million. You know what? For a fight of this magnitude, one of the biggest fights that could be made in the sport of boxing this year, and you're paying me $1.2 million, you know what? I'll chill out. I'll chill out. So what ended up happening was you had Vasyl Lomachenko kind of like restructure his part of the deal. And he supposedly relinquished $800,000 off of what he was going to get to have Teofimo Lopez get that $800,000, so that Teofimo Lopez would be paid, even $2 million, or have an even $2 million purse for the fight between Lopez and Lomachenko to happen. So that has been made. It's been signed, sealed, and delivered, so to speak. So you do have Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez official there in the lightweight division for the unified lightweight titles. I've kind of read about possibly that WBC franchise championship being on the line as well, which is kind of interesting given that the WBC franchise championship isn't supposed to be relinquished, or it can't change hands from a loss. So that kind of is, weird, or kind of like really suspect, because the whole thing about that WBC franchise title, particularly in the lightweight division, right? That the person that currently has the franchise championship was elevated to have the franchise title after having the WBC title, mainly because he wouldn't necessarily fight the guy that was the mandatory contender for the WBC title at the time, or as you would say, the interim champion, the WBC interim champion at that time, which was Devin Haney. But we'll get to Devin Haney here in a little bit. But like I was saying there, you have Vasyl Lomachenko against Teofimo Lopez. That fight is official. That fight will be for the unified lightweight titles, and that is going to be for October there, and it will be in Las Vegas on October 17th. That is a headline fight, and it is official. You're also going to have Edgar Berlanga. He is slated to be on that particular event on ESPN. Yep, that's right, ESPN. And it's going to be interesting to see who he is going to be fighting there. At that particular instance. So the thing about it is that we got to see how that's going to work out. Because there was something about Edgar Berlanga talking a little spicy, so to speak, towards another fighter that is in the super middleweight division, right? That is, fighting under top rank and has been going up the ranks in the super middleweight division. And that person's name is Steven Nelson, who had recently, won a fight against DeAndre Ware this past weekend, won by 6-round TKO. Now, we're not going to have Steven Nelson turn around and fight again within 1 month. That's not going to happen. But it's something to see if they are potentially going to match those two fighters together for a fight. I'm not certain that that's going to happen given the position that Steven Nelson is at this particular point. He does have the NABO title, right? Being the NABO champion, that has him at a fairly high ranking there within the super middleweight division. And was put in position to have a fight against either the champion, WBO champion there, Billy Joe Saunders. You also have notable fighters like Daniel Jacobs in that division. You also have David Lemieux in that division, and David Lemieux is fairly highly ranked in not only the WBO, but also in the WBC and WBA. Kind of find that kind of interesting there. But with that being said, you do have the instance where Steven Nelson will be kind of like preparing to have a fight that could put him in position to fight for a world title at super middleweight real soon. About Edgar Berlanga, even though he's, having those fights where first round knockouts, I think, what is that, about 14 consecutive 14 consecutive first round knockouts there. So he has that 100% KO, thing. But he will be featured on ESPN October 17, 2020, as part of that card for Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. So we do have that there on slate. Now, you also have the schedule that's coming up, right? So really, you have the thing with former world title contender Gidigis Kavaliauskas. He will be facing Michael Zubski, and Miguel Mariaga will be going up against Joet Gonzalez. So you have, Joet Gonzalez, who fought Shakur Stevenson for that, at the time, the vacant WBO featherweight championship, was almost shut out by Shakur Stevenson. Miguel Mariaga, who I think was slated to fight Shakur Stevenson on March 14th, at the theater in Madison Square Garden. But that is when everything hit, as far as like everything being shut down in the U.S. So that fight got completely scratched. And so now you have Joey Gonzalez, they're at 23-1, going up against Miguel Mariaga at 29-3. That will be this weekend. And you're going to have, like I said, it is just Kamaliauskas against Michael Zuski there as part of that fight card on ESPN. I think, with that happening, this ESPN basically, filling out their network slots, and also with, the thing with Top Rank honoring their TV deal with ESPN. So, like, you saw those the things at the Bubble in Las Vegas on Tuesday and Thursday, every week for, about 6 weeks or so. That was Top Rank doing what they needed to do in order to catch up and fulfill their TV deal with ESPN. So I'm going to see if we could, break off here for a little bit. I wanted to try to get a special guest on here. Hopefully, I could do this thing over the phone here, as he'll see if I can break down a few things, have him on for a few minutes. So let me see if I can reach him here real fast. Bear with me for a second. Okay, seeming like that is, I think he may be, not necessarily available at this particular juncture. So I'm going to see if I could reach him at a later time or something like that. But there's also a few other things that I wanted to talk about. So you'll all be able to get through that here in this next section. But you'll also waiting for another person to come on here to join on this midweek report to kind of like give their take on the news and notes that's going on within the sport of boxing here. So I'm going to see if I can get them on here for a little bit or have them join in, but also try to get another guest on. So let me see how that's going with all of that. I think they're trying to get on here right now. So hopefully. Hey, yo, what's going on, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., man? What's good? Oh, man, just, trying to catch up with you, all this action going on, man.
Am I on?
So just trying to catch up, see what's happening, what's cracking.
Oh, man. Can you hear me, JR?
As of now, we received the contract. We received the contract. We're just trying to revise some things within the contract. Basically, they got a rematch clause in it. So we want to cover our bases. Once I beat his ass, once I spanked that little ass the first time, I want the second time around to be 110% completely on our terms.
Right.
On our terms, whatever network of our choosing, and etc.
Right.
We just putting that stuff in the contract. We getting it sent over to Al so he can check it out and revise it. And he's gonna send it back to Eddie Hearns. But we haven't sent it as of yet because we still hashing out the little particulars.
Yeah, the particulars of the details on the contract. I mean, and that's the thing with contracts. It's not just the monetary figure. It's all the other things that they could add in to say that Yep, exactly, exactly. I think I have someone else on here with me. Mr. Matt, you hear?
I'm here, JR. Hey, Gary. Wait, no, not Gary. Mr. Gary Russell. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm peaceful at the moment. I'm a little sore because I've been putting this work in, but it's all good.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I know you hit the gym hard today.
Hey, man, we hit the gym hard every day.
Every day, every day.
Gary, you are the talk. Well, you were the talk in the boxing world. Canelo kind of took over everything. But you have been a hot topic on boxing Twitter and in boxing circles because of this thing with Devin Haney. Now, I need to know, because I got people who've been wanting me to ask you questions. I need to know directly from you. Will this rematch clause situation stand in the way of you fighting Devin Haney?
Wait, say that again?
Will this rematch clause situation stand in the way of you fighting Devin Haney?
Will it stand in the way of it?
Yeah, like what if you can't get everything 100% on your terms in the rematch clause? Is that gonna stand in the way of you making this fight that everybody now wants to see?
Hey, hold on. Hold on.
We lost him? Oh, no.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can run that again.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I could get that thing back on here with him. Because I didn't think it would be much of an issue.
No, we gotta find out though. We gotta ask the question.
We have to find out.
Because listen, you and I, we kind of been riding for Gary real hard. We don't want to look crazy over a simple rematch clause. We got to get this fight because I think Gary could beat him.
Right.
I think he could beat him. Come on, you got to do this.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, like you said there briefly, man, all it is just sending the details over to Al and getting the, final things tweaked over. And like you said, with that rematch clause, it's got to, completely be on his terms because, this first fight, while he does get that, he does get the money that, he pretty much put out there. Everything else would be, under the terms for Devin Haney.
Yeah, but if the rematch clause is not 100% his term, I don't think it should stand in the way of the fight. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. No, come on. I think this is a big fight for both guys. Can't let that stand in the way. Can't let it stand in the way.
I feel you. So I'm gonna see about this thing here and try again. Let me see what's happening with it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I think this joint. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, his joint ran out, man. That's what it was. His phone dead, man. I'm telling you, man. His phone was blowing up, man. Everybody was hitting him. Oh man. Because that joint was straight the voicemail.
Now we can't get an answer to that question because that's what a lot of people want to know. Because I'll be honest with you, the reaction to the whole rematch clause thing, a lot of people weren't happy with Gary saying, "Oh, he wanted to modify the rematch clause." A lot of people weren't happy with that because they're like, "Yo, you got what you want. Let's make the fight now." We don't want this fight to become Hooker versus Prograis where nobody even cares about the shit no more. Let's not let this fight move past its expiration date. We got the public interested in it. Let's get to it right now.
Yeah, let's get it cracking ASAP. So I mean, we'll have to revisit it at a later juncture. But while we do have you on here, we have to go through El Campeon and the zone, because I've spoken on it a couple times yesterday, and you know my feeling about it in reference to who's basically at fault, and it's not really Canelo,
It's
but
not Canelo
who's
at
at
all.
fault. But
It's not Canelo at all.
but but I want your take on this thing here first before I kind of like break it down to like quote unquote the business of boxing. So go ahead.
First and foremost, free Canelo. Shout
Free
out to the
Canelo.
great El Campeon. So from what it looks like, Canelo's contract is not with DAZN. Canelo's contract is with Golden Boy, right?
Okay.
Golden Boy said we're going to pay you a minimum. This is not. See, everyone said that's what he's getting every fight. No. 35 million is his minimum. So he's getting a minimum of 35 million for every fight. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's even more than that. If he was to fight like a Golovkin, he would get a minimum of 60 million, which is wow. Let's go Canelo. But yeah, a minimum of 60 million. So those are his minimums. Now, according to Golden Boy, and this is if you believe them, they never made any assurances to DAZN on specific opponents for Canelo. Now, if that's true, DAZN has no leg to stand on. If it isn't true, Golden Boy will be going out of business because Canelo has a services contract with them. Okay.
Hey, hold on.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, the thing like kind of cut off, man. I don't know what happened there with you.
I'm back though. I'm back.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Yeah, this is the WBC featherweight champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. back with us on the Boxing Source, man. I know that we had like a question for you, in reference to the thing with the rematch clause, but I don't think you would have much issues with that.
No, JR, don't do that.
Hold on, you have to clarify it, Mr. Man.
Ask the question. Ask the question. No. You got to ask the question for the people because the people want to know.
Mr. Gary Russell Jr., Brother Matt has to ask this question to you again.
Okay. So, what if you cannot get the rematch clause 110% in your favor? Is that going to affect whether or not you agree to make this fight?
It definitely can affect that. It definitely can.
No.
It can. This is the reason why. For the fans and the people that's listening. The reason is this. People keep forgetting. I keep saying that with Terrence, it was personal. With Devin, it was business. Now, I already came down and agreed to their number.
Mm-hmm.
The number that they said, I agreed to the terms. That number wasn't the number that I agreed to. I said, what I agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Only want to put a rematch. They put a rematch clause in the contract. Based on if that's the case, we're gonna take the rematch clause out of the contract altogether. Then, if they take the rematch clause out of the contract altogether, then I'll be cool with it and we'll make the fight. But the fact that I'm meeting their offer, and I'll be competing on the network or whichever network of their liking or whichever station of their liking. When I beat his little ass and we have to do the rematch, I should have the same type of options to do it on whichever network or whichever liking of mine.
Whichever terms.
It's simple. And if they can't agree to that, then we got it.
Now, speaking on that, now when you were talking with Devin Haney and Bill Haney, your figure wasn't 1.5. And you clearly stated that beforehand.
Correct.
You know? So.
And to be honest with you, when I originally talked to Bill, because Devin Haney was someone that we originally wanted to fight. He was the first person that I wanted to fight once the coronavirus was over with. When you pay attention to my Instagram pages and everything, the only person that I was thinking about fighting was Devin Haney.
Right.
Nobody wanted to fight Devin Haney, and nobody wanted to fight me. Why not? Who would want to see that fight? And I was talking to Bill, and I gave Bill a hypothetical fit that we could possibly make on the fight, and he never responded back. So he said, well, we'll fight. Then Terrence Crawford offered Kell Brook 1.5, and I said, damn, Terrence, y'all just trying to make it seem like y'all trying to give people fights, because you know Kell Brook can fight a complete nobody in his own country, and he'll sell an arena out and make that money. You know what I'm saying? I'll fight you for that money because it's personal. You said you wanted to break my neck because I answered the question honestly about something that happened years ago. So then Bill Haney said, well, shit, fight us for that number. I said, man, listen, that's personal. I'll fight Terrence Crawford for free just because he said he wanted to break my neck.
Mm-hmm.
I took offense to that. As a man, I know it's a drought on real men, so I agree to disagree to people that don't understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
You know, but you know, when on that situation, I told Bill, I said, listen, man, with Terrence is personal. With your son, that's business. Realistically speaking, this will be a bigger fight than the Javante Tank Davis and the Leo Santa Cruz. This will be one of the most anticipated fights in the sport of boxing as of today. Can't nobody argue that. Can't nobody really argue that. You know, so if that's been the case, and now they saying, I said, man, if that's the case, fuck it, give me 2. He said, well, he overpricing himself. He's trying to price himself out. Cool beans, shorty. Since I'm trying to price myself out, I'll meet you at that number. I'm going to beat your ass. We both could have made a little more money. I hope it's worth it because I'm going to spank your ass. You've never been in a ring with nobody, nothing like me. He's never seen nothing like me before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spank your little ass. Cool. So they want to put a rematch clause in it because it's highly likely that I would beat his ass. And if the title was to change hands, they want an opportunity to be able to get their title back. I don't mind giving them a chance to get their title back once I beat them. You know what I'm saying? But if that's the case in this rematch clause, I needed to stipulate that we can do it on our terms. We can do it on our network. It has to happen during the fight has to happen within a certain time and everything. Fight has to happen by a certain date, a certain time, and et cetera.
Yep.
You know, so that's just basic business. It's just business. That has nothing to do with Terrence Crawford. So yes, it could affect whether the fight happens or not. Am I willing to make the fight happen? Hell yeah. But people gotta understand, man. You gotta have. If you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. I'm one of those guys that's gonna stand on everything I believe in, and I don't care what nobody else got to say. And that's just what it is. So it's very possible that it could make it different. If that's the case, like I say, if they got an issue with that, then fuck it. I'll counter offer and say, well, fuck it, take the rematch clause out of the contract. We can still make the fight happen.
Yeah. Now, going back, like it's been about almost 5 months or so, because the whole thing with Haney basically jumped off when he called you out on Twitter. And we said then months ago, we're like, Gary Russell Jr. really ain't on Twitter, so what is you talking about? And I do have one particular person that's on with us that did have a reaction to Devin Haney's supposed call out months ago. He kind of had some choice words for Devin Haney. But what's happening right now, as long as you like you said, you had to make the adjustment with Devin Haney, because like you said, hey, with Terrence Crawford it's personal, but with me and you it's business. And when it's business, and I know what I'm worth, because you've always stated that you know what you're worth when it comes to this whole thing with the boxing game. And so if they're not able to come up to your demands, then that's it. So now you made the adjustment. You said, you know what? I'll take that 1.5 to beat your ass, but the rematch clause better be on that, and it better be on my terms. And that's basically how it is.
And if people don't understand that, and then they might need to take a look in the mirror. Or, like I say, if they don't like my terms of the rematch clause, then let's take the rematch clause completely out the contract then.
Oh, there you go. Just a one time thing
so
on that.
If just for clarity, if the rematch clause is not 100%, if the rematch clause is not 100% on your terms, will you reject the fight if the terms are as currently constructed?
I just said that. I felt like I kind of said that. It don't have to be 100%. We got flexibility. You know what I'm saying? We flexible. I'm a noble guy. So Sean really don't know what he getting himself into.
This fight, Gary, please. We need this fight, man.
Good.
We
He
need
really
this
don't know what he getting.
Like he don't even know how much we dying to see this fight, man.
Yo, we've been pushing for this fight for months, man.
I want it. Listen, don't nobody want this fight more than I want this fight. I was on the phone 5-6 months ago, 2-3 o'clock in the morning with Devin Haney's father, letting him know I'm trying to make some money with his son by physically putting my hands on him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, I'm trying to make this fight happen. Bill Haney, I mean, it ain't a secret. Bill Haney said that, yeah, man, Gary, we've been talking. We've been communicating on trying to make a fight.
Mm-hmm.
We've been trying to do that.
Yep.
You know, but this is the fight that I would love to take this fight. I think Shorty's in over his head, and he's not going to realize it until it's 2 motherfuckers late and the bill will run. You know what I'm saying? And the bill run, and he's going to realize he's in over his head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I mean, I'm definitely want to take the fight. Like I say, man, we doing it on their terms. We doing it all on their terms, and I'm shortchanging myself. So why shouldn't the rematch clause be on point on my end?
On the other way, yep.
It only makes sense. Or just take the rematch clause completely out of the contract.
Yep.
So Gary.
The only reason why they got the rematch clause in the contract is because they know the chances of the title changing hands.
Yep.
Hey, Gary.
What's up?
Hey, so this is Trill. I'm a regular on the podcast, and I definitely have talked to you a few times before. And I'm the one that basically said if Haney didn't keep this word to get this fight and make it happen, he's put. So first of all, I'm so glad.
Say that one more time.
Oh, hey, Terrell, you're not in there clear. Now, Terrell is the one that basically called out Devin Haney and said if he didn't follow through on that call out, then Devin Haney's the pussy. So at least Devin Haney came up and said that he wanted to follow through with this fight at the very least.
Well, I can't say this much. The contract has been sent. I can definitely confirm that. I can definitely confirm that the contract has been sent. You know, now whether they go on deal with the terms in which I want in the contract, which is pretty much what I just asked and what I just told you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's something that could make or break the fight. Or, like I say, just take the rematch clause out of the contract. But as of this far, he has delivered on everything that he said. They sent the contract. They said they said they sent the contract. They ain't say they was going to agree to shit. So we'll see. We'll see how it work out.
Well, I mean, the thing that I was hearing from, Bill Haney a day ago, was saying that, they try to like have everything cordial, with, their party and your party, that, they have respect for you and your family and just want to, go ahead and conduct business with this. But, there's the whole thing about, Devin Haney talking about, I sent them a contract, but they hadn't responded yet. So I think he capping. But we have heard your response to it, and so, like you said, you 100% want this fight.
But honestly, I think, like I say, Devin, 21, 20,
Yeah, 21.
I think he's young, and to the fans, you have to understand that it is it is business. At the end of the day, contracts aren't just sent over and signed. You want to make sure everything makes sense and everything is exactly the way that they said it was going to be. And it's not no other extra stuff that's in between. So we have a turn to go over these contracts to check the lingo, because wordplay a bad motherfucker. They put a little bit of wordplay in it. You think it means one thing, and it means something completely different. So we're just scanning over the contract and putting in the particulars that we want in the contract as far as the rematch clause goes. And like I say, if they have an issue with that, they completely take the rematch clause out of the contract, and let's make the fight.
All right, true that. I want to see if I can add in another person. Hopefully, they're ready and hear me what's going on. But they are basically on cue. Hopefully, they'll get on and ask a question if they're ready. They'll have to unmute once they're ready to rock, because they're on with us right now, and that's Mr. Mike, Michael on Sports. So once he, let me see here. I'm gonna try to see if I could get this.
Going on,
yeah. Yo, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you. What's going on, Mr. Gary Russell?
What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. I love how vocal you've been over the past couple of months. You know what I'm saying? Really, not letting anybody slide on any shit they saying. So I really can appreciate that in boxing, because it ain't just about fighting. Sometimes you gotta entice the public and make them and let them know. You know what I'm saying? You really about what you speak. So I gotta give you props on that. One thing that I did want to ask you though, today I was reading some things, and it said if you were to win the fight with Devin Haney, that you wanted the fight to be on, I believe, a PBC network, the rematch. Now, if I'm just going off revisionist history, I've seen when Andy Ruiz won that the fight was back on the zone again. And Eddie Hearn is still the Joshua's promoter, and he's Devin Haney's promoter. So do you really think that he's going to abide to that request?
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, you breaking up. I can't hear. I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, he was saying with the whole thing with the rematch clause and everything like that, that he, kind of is, trying to see is after you had that fight and you defeat Devin Haney, he's having doubts that it would be, the rematch would be on, PBC network, given that, you had the whole thing with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, where Ruiz won the first fight and it was on the zone, but the rematch was also on the zone, given it was Anthony Joshua. But I don't think that
that goes back to how everybody do business differently, and that goes back to how you negotiate business. Maybe that was something that was in the terms of their contract. That goes back into the situation that I'm talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me at all. If I'm fighting on this guy's network, wherever they want, on their terms, when I beat them, I feel as though I should be able to do the same. That's it. That's all. Or let's just do one fight at the network of your choosing or your liking, and we don't need no rematch clause. Winner take all.
Yeah, there you go. Now, have I think another one on here, Jay. You can hear us. You're here with the WBC featherweight champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr.
What's up, champ? How you doing today?
I'm peaceful at the moment, but I'm a little sore. I've been grinding.
I know you're getting it. I'm a DC native for sure, from Northwest DC. You know what I mean? And we definitely rocking behind you. I grew up on 14th and W, so you know I was in the trenches for sure.
I grew up, I grew up right on New Jersey Avenue, New Jersey and
Okay. So you know I was down with that Midtown boxing at the time.
with Gene Hughes and all of that,
Yeah. But listen here, man. I like how you've been coming at their necks lately, bro, and how you stepping up these weight classes, man. And that says a lot, to be truthfully honest, man. I mean, you taking the big risk, to be truthfully honest. You know what I mean? And you're going against a younger man, and they always say it's a young man's game. So I respect that. You know what I mean? I mean, personally, I've been telling everybody I see another Mayweather versus Canelo again. You know, I think you're going to teach the young man, but we're going to see. But I just hope that this actually happens, because I definitely like to see it, bro.
Man, I appreciate the support. And if it does happen, man, just understand that energy is very transferable. You know, and if it does happen, if you see it and you watching it, don't throw some of the punches in the head. Because you right
Yeah. Yep, that's what's up there. I'm gonna see, man. Looks like people are coming in and coming on. Let me see.
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
if Devin Haney wasn't going to be the opponent, I think I've heard you said that you had somebody else in mind, and he was like at 135. Can you like share with us who that was?
Yeah, I can't get y'all there. I can't get y'all there.
I tried though.
Hey, my man Mike tried. He tried.
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, y'all know I'm going to try. I kind of want to change gears because y'all know me, man. I'm a big Terrence Crawford guy. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to know why were you so adamant about taking the 1.5 for Terrence Crawford at first, but not for Devin Haney at first?
Because Terrence was personal. Devin Haney was business. You know, I keep saying it like it's job like a drought on real men. You know, there's no disrespect to nobody. You know, but somebody asked me a question and I answered it honestly about something that happened years ago. Terrence got mad, and his reply to it was he wanted to break my neck. As a man, I was offended, and me being a competitor and a warrior, my natural instinct just kicks in. I want to be physical at this point with this person. So we could have fought for free. We could have fought for free just off the principle because I feel some type of way because you say you want to break that. You know, so that's where that came from. With Devin Haney, it's business. Me and Devin Haney is a much, much bigger fight than what we would be getting paid for. We would not be getting compensated for the work of this fight because it's a bigger fight. It will be the most anticipated fight in sport boxing right now today. It'll be one of the most anticipated fights, and we're only going to make 1.5. Well, I'm going to make 1.5 for that's not good business. You know what I'm saying? I know for a fact it's a bigger fight than the Javante Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. And they will pay-per-view. People will pay pay-per-view to see me and Devin Haney fight. Who wouldn't pay pay-per-view to see me and Devin Haney fight? But, you know what I'm saying? Since they saying that I'm capping and this, that, and the third, ain't nobody really trying to fight me anyway. Cool, Jordan. You ain't trying. I fight you for 2. Oh nah, that's too much. See, he's trying. He outpricing himself. you know what? Cool, man. You could have got your little ass beat for more money than that. But since I want a name on my resume anyway and put you on my roster, you know what I'm saying? You can get it. You can get it for that. That's honestly what that came to. Because realistically speaking, if these was on other terms, this fight would be on pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Real quick follow up to that Terrence Crawford. How serious was the offer that you guys sent to Bob and Terrence about a potential fight?
Just as serious as I was about Devin Haney.
And you never heard anything back from Bob or Terrence?
Nah. I mean, maybe they just wanted to pursue. Maybe they just wanted to pursue other things. But I can tell you this much: if this fight happened with Devin Haney, I'm only 2 weight classes away. Because I spanked Devin ass. I'm only 2 weight classes away. Terms. What's up? I still feel some type of way about it. We can still get it cracked. Matter of fact, I seen the video. It was a video. One of his little friends. I don't even know the dude's name. I can't think of the dude's name. The dude said something like, "He had beat my ass," and he was like, I guess he was turned yes man, a hype man or something. And he said he can beat my ass, and this, that, and the third. I can come down there. See, they playing. They got the right one. Since he's talking, I want to get this guy's name, because since he's talking, I take that offer. I come down there to Omaha, me and my little brothers, and I come up in the gym. We can get the camera crew, everybody come up in that motherfucker. And since he said he can beat me, if I don't when I beat it, I beat his ass too. We just need a waiver. I need somebody to get a waiver put up. Just in case I fucking move, they'll try to sue me or nothing like that. we get a waiver. I come down there and spar you and beat your ass. But if I do, Terrence gonna have to sign this term sheet to say right after Devin Haney he'll fight with next.
What's up with this new Gary, man? We getting, cause it's like you not letting nobody slide on nothing. If a nigga say he took a quarter from you in high school, you want to get at him. So like, where's all this coming from?
What you mean I'm not letting nobody slide on nothing? You gotta elaborate. Say that again.
It's like, if anybody say anything, Devin Haney says something, all right, we gotta know and say and get on his ass. Terrence says something, gotta get on his ass. Terrence Potton says something, we gotta get on his ass. Mark Davis says something, I'm on his ass. Darden says something, I'm on his ass. That's what I've been getting. And maybe you've been like this before, but to the public, I haven't really seen this.
Man, listen, boxing is what I do, is not who I am. I'm a real man at the end of the day. If somebody says something or do something that I don't like and I'm offended about it, then I'm gonna address it. I'm gonna address it accordingly. I'm not gonna let something slide. I'm not gonna let somebody say something or do something that I don't like without at least checking it or letting them know how I feel about the situation. I'm not one of these guys that be on social media. I normally don't be on social media at all. I just recently got on social media, and once I got on social media and started seeing the crazy shit that people were saying out their mouth, hell yeah, I'm gonna check it, because half of the people that we talking about, they know me personally. They know me personally from the amateurs. Not Devin Haney, because he was young, but Terrence Crawford, he know me personally. He knew boxing was the perfect sport for me. People got into boxing because they probably got beat up or just liked the sport. I was an aggressive child. I used to go around and just beat people up just for the fuck up. And my parents had to realize it and channel it. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in Washington, D.C. This was when it was the real D.C.
Man, listen.
When it was Chocolate City. When it was the murder capital. We had the highest murder rate of everywhere.
Everywhere.
Had to be aggressive. We was forced through a different type of fire.
Listen.
Than the fact of these people in these other places. You know what I'm saying? So I was much more aggressive than everybody else. So people never seen that side of me because I wasn't on social media. But the motherfuckers that knew me personally, they always knew what it was. I ain't never lied about nothing. Everything I said was factual information. Whether they argued it or not, it still came out to be true.
Man, I knew like back in the day in the early and mid 90s, I was like, you know, around Northeast DC and around Georgia Avenue. But back then, we knew better than to even go close to Southeast DC. Because if you was around there during that time, man, shit.
Them was all the people that raised me. Them was the people that I came up with. Them was the people that was the uncles of the neighborhood, the big brothers of the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? That seen that somebody had a little bit of talent and encouraged them to do better. And I'm a product of my environment. So when people say, well, I seen you just doing this and doing that. Nah, I don't see these people. I would prefer to see them in person than to see them on social media so I can confront them in person. But, you know, we got social media going on. You got these social media gangsters. So I just rather these guys keep my name out their mouth because I'm one of them guys that really answer the call. I don't care how big you are, how small you are, how little you are. None of that shit matters. I'm a real man at the end of the day. Ain't nobody gonna bring no fear. Ain't nobody bringing no fear nowhere. It's always been that way.
Yeah, Mike, you got something, and then I'm gonna
I wanted to ask him since he's moving up to 135, like what's going to happen with the 126-pound title? Are you going to keep it? Are you going to vacate it, or are you going to plan on going back down to 126?
It's a beautiful thing when you're a free agent and you got options, isn't it? I don't know. It's a beautiful thing when you got options. I'm the longest reigning champion at 126. Longest reigning champion. So realistically speaking, if we make this fight happen within a certain time frame that I want, I could beat Shorty little ass and be the champion at 120, at 135, and at 126, and that'll give me enough time to go back down and defend my title at 26.
Yeah, because
and that's only if I want to, because realistically speaking, you know what I'm saying? When I spank Shorty ass, see, everything is strategic. People gotta understand. Yeah. When I spank Shorty ass, man, I'll be the WBC champion at 135. And guess who I want to fight next?
Oh, we know.
I want to fight the franchise champion.
That's right.
Lomachenko.
Franchise champion. Yeah, I just beat the little boy ass that you was running from. What's up? Let's do this shit again.
So Gary, man, I gotta ask you, bro. I gotta play devil's advocate because people have been saying this, and people have been like making these kind of assumptions. When you say you was weight drained for the Lomachenko fight, and Lomachenko didn't really get the real Gary Russell, what do you say to people that say that just sounds like a excuse? Why can't you give Lomachenko his proper credit?
I'll say they're entitled to their opinion.
Okay.
They're entitled to their opinion.
All right. Jay, what you got?
Hey, Gary, I had a quick question, man, because I came to your gym and I interviewed Antoine, man, and I was thoroughly impressed with the young brother, man. You might know me. I go by Jay Hardcore Boxing News also. But what's next? What did you say?
I remember you. What's up, man?
It's all good, but listen here, man. I love your brother, man, and I just don't think ain't nobody gonna be able to deal with Shorty at all. So what's next for him?
And it's so funny, man. It's so funny. These dudes, hey, listen. In a minute, people about to be in between a rock and a hard place. They about to be between a rock and a hard place because if they gonna see me at 35. Or if they decide to move up and gain a little weight, they're gonna run right into my little brother, and they're gonna have to deal with this bloodline at some point.
Right. So what's the deal with Easter? You think him and Easter gonna be able to get it on?
Hey,
I'm about to ask that question. Make that fight.
From Easton, man. I don't think Easton want that smoke.
I don't think so either.
oh,
I got
Hey, look, I don't think Bunny want that smoke.
So what you saying, Bunny? So you saying Bunny hopping around that or what?
Man, my name, hey, look, I'm about to call my little brother Elmer Fudd. My little brother Elmer Fudd.
be very, very quiet.
Because look, this is the thing. I like the. When I fight, it looks like it's so funny because my wife, like, she doesn't watch boxing. She don't know anything about boxing. She learned boxing when she met me, and she started watching boxing. She's like, baby, I'm not trying to be biased, but when you fight, it like all your stuff look like neat. It looked neat and real crisp and just clean. Like it's like it was choreographed or something. But when everybody else fight, it really looks like they fight. I said, damn, baby, that says a lot. I said, because I am an entertainer, and I feel as though I paint a picture whenever I do compete. But I like to make this shit look pretty when I'm beating somebody else. My little brother Antoine, he ain't gonna make nothing look pretty. He just gonna try and find you the fuck over. So people got to, like I say, it's good to have options, man. Y'all guys gonna have the option to pick y'all poison.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
when it comes to Robert Easter, I don't know if it's rabbit season or duck season, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm leaning towards duck season. Who knows, man? But hey, we gotta hear from Easter, man. And you know what? I gotta make a few phone calls. There's gotta be a way that I could reach the Robert Easter because he's from Toledo, Ohio, and I know a few folks out of Toledo. So there's a way that I could get in contact with Robert Easter to see what's up.
Speaking of people that ducking or get the perception of ducking, what do you make of the Leo Santa Cruz and Gervonta Davis fight? Do you think that fight is going to be competitive, or do you? Because I believe, honestly, I don't know if Leo has the power to keep Tank up off of him. And I mean, Leo's a good fighter, but his chin, I don't know if he has a chin to take what Tank is going to be throwing out. So we'll see how that plays out. But I just want to get your perception of that fight.
Man, both of their ass could lose if you ask me. Don't nobody want to see that shit, man. People want to see me and Leo Santa Cruz. People want to see me and say Tank Davis. But you know what? I'm gonna take myself out the equation. I'm gonna be realistic with the fans. Realistically speaking, I think if Leo gets Tank past the 5th round and steps on the gas and then starts stepping on the gas, he got a good chance. He got a good chance. We all got to take into consideration that Gervonta, he's definitely the bigger puncher, but he's coming down to 130. He already had problems trying to make 135 in the Gamboa fight.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he's going to really drain himself. And even in the Gamboa fight, after the 5th round, he was only throwing like 15 punches a round. He still won the fight, but he was only throwing 15 punches a round. So if Leo could get him to maybe about the 5th round and then actually start to step on the gas, with a certain level of defensive discipline and force Tank to exert a certain amount of energy, he got a good chance. He got a good chance. But you never know. Boxing is boxing, man. Everybody. the odds is definitely more in Tank's favor. He's a bigger puncher. You know, I think he's a little more slicker than Leo. Leo's tough, and he's going to throw a lot of punches. I think he's going to have to. If he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to be strategic because he not me. Leo, both of them motherfuckers don't want to fight me. See, I can fight Tank however the fuck I want to fight Tank. Tank can't do shit with me. Tank fight me, try to do that wide, hard shit. I'm gonna find this shit right in between. He gonna have problems. But Leo, with the skill set that he's bringing, man, I feel like if he can get him past the 5th round and then start really stepping on the gas, you know, and forcing Tank to exert more energy, because he's gonna drain himself. I believe that he's gonna drain himself getting down to 130 because he didn't make the weight for Gamboa at 135. So you gotta take all that stuff into consideration.
True that. Now, I had 2 questions. One was in reference to the thing with Devin Haney. There was something where yesterday Devin Haney was mentioning, you know, the possible fight date being Saturday, December 26th. And he was like, oh, but if it's the 26th, who doesn't win on Christmas Day? So is there like any information on that as far as like a date that you were kind of aiming towards for that fight with Haney?
I would love to get the fight in this year. So I have 2 fights in for this year. But if not, at the latest, the beginning of next year. But that's late. I don't even want it to go that far.
Right. I feel you.
I don't even want it to go that far. But at the latest, you know, if we want to get a decent date to make sure we got a good number of viewers and something that makes sense for both parties, then let's shoot for it.
Yeah, I feel you. Now, my other follow-up thing was something like a comment that I was saying yesterday. I was, you know, talking with somebody in reference to you, and I brought up the instance where after you defeated Jojo Diaz, who was at the time the WBC mandatory, you already had plans then for moving up. And for some reason, this person mentioned the name Miguel Berchelt. And I'm like, who in the world talks about Miguel Berchelt? For me, seriously, that was the first time I've heard anybody mention Miguel Berchelt's name as far as like talking on boxing circles. And he's saying like Gary Russell Jr. mentioned Berchelt's name. And I'm like, I've never heard Gary Russell Jr. mention Berchelt's name ever. And
I mean, he was never someone that I even paid attention to at all. No, it was never. I wanted to skip over the 130 division because there was no one in the division that I wanted to fight. Honestly, other than Tevin Farmer when he was about to fight Jojo Diaz, and he said he wanted to fight. So since he's and the guy who said that I'm checking everybody. Nah, like this not no new shit. When Tevin Farmer said he wanted to fight me, I beat Jojo. When he was about to fight Jojo Diaz, what I say? I don't even want to fight at 130. But if you beat him, I'm gonna come up there and beat your ass just because you said my name.
Right.
So I mean, I'm consistent.
I got one more question. I got one more question. I missed the first part in reference to the contract. What was the stipulation you were talking about in reference to the rematch, or what was that before that?
Wait, say that again? You said in reference to the rematch.
The rematch clause.
Yeah. What was the? I missed the first part of when you.
He breaking up.
Yeah, he was breaking up. He was talking about the thing with the rematch clause terms. Like he kind of missed that as far as like.
The first part was, I think someone asked, would that affect if the fight happens or not? And I'm like, yeah, it does affect if the fight happens or not, based upon the fact that, you know, first of all, this is a fight that's much bigger than what we would be compensated for. You know, I originally asked for a certain number, and they didn't want to take the number, and I went down and I agreed to the terms of the number that they wanted. And wherever they wanted the venue to be, where they wanted the fight to be, whatever network they wanted to be on, and etc. And then on top of that, they put a rematch clause in it. So since they put a rematch clause in it, it's only fair that when I beat him, if we have to do a rematch, for me to have it on my terms, just the way that he had it on his terms.
Which makes sense.
Whichever network of my choosing, and etc. And if they have an issue with that, then first of all, they only put the rematch clause in the contract because it's highly likely that the title will change hands. If they have an issue, once again, if they have an issue with the terms that I want to put in the contract as far as the rematch clause, just take the rematch clause completely out of the contract altogether, and we'll just have one fight. It don't have to be a rematch clause.
Which is fair. I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, because if you win, you should have to say so where it happens, and you know, whoever puts the money up normally, or whoever wins normally can speak on what's next. So I get that. Now I guess they're saying whoever puts the money up should have the say so of what network it is, but you know.
Well, how it works is the champion is the one that. The challenger isn't the one that makes the demands, and the challenger is the one that comes up with the money. I'll be challenging Devin Haney. He's the champion at 135. So they would have to put up the money. So therefore, when I beat him, if the fight takes place, I would be the champion, and then we will be responsible for putting up the money. We will be responsible for.
Okay, well, that's self-explanatory right there. Then so that makes sense.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's all I'm trying to do. All I'm trying to do is put that in the contract.
Yep.
And I sent it over to Al. I got my lawyer to look over it and revise the parts that I wanted revised in the contract, and I sent it over to Al, and he's going to take a look at it and make sure everything is cut and dry. Because if it's a rematch in this fight, we got to map this thing out for a certain time frame. That's over a 13-month time frame, because we want both fights to happen within a certain time. We don't want to drag it on or drag it off. We still want to have our flexibility. So if we have the first fight, we want to have it in the contract implemented that the second fight has to take place by this time.
Mm-hmm.
X amount of days, such and such, because we don't want to drag this thing on. And if they don't want it, like I said, if they don't want to agree to the terms of what I want, because I already agreed to all of their terms, then just take the rematch clause out of the contract. Because I'm gonna smack his little ass.
And so that goes vice versa. Let's say in an event we get to say whatever as well. So that makes it fair both ways, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
well, shit, I can't see that not being signed then.
That's what I'm saying.
Because y'all both believe y'all gonna win, so I mean, shit. I don't see why that shouldn't be signed.
Right, I mean, my thing is this. I already came down from my terms and met their terms.
Right.
Yep.
That's it. So as of now, we just sending it over to Al, and he's going to just scan over one more time, and he's sending this shit over.
Yep. Yeah, I feel you, man. And that's the thing.
It's a process to the fans that think that this shit just happens overnight. You know, it really doesn't work that way. You know, it's a process. We have attorneys that want to check it, and then they want to check it a couple times, you know, just to make sure that everything is 100% correct. You know, this is, like I say, this is our occupation. This is how we make a living.
Right.
You want to cross your T's and dot your I's all the way around the board. I'm already lowballing myself by fighting for a low number.
Right.
know what I'm saying? But with that being said, I'm putting myself in a position to get the world title in two-weight divisions higher than a division that already have a world title at. So with that being said, if they want to put the rematch clause in it, I just feel like when I beat them, I should be able to have the fight whenever we want. What do we want?
Exactly.
That's it. I just like dumped it down to the fans. But that's pretty much what it is that we want. Now, as far as how our attorneys and stuff might work it, it'll probably be a little, I don't know how they word it because the lingo is a little different. But that's pretty much what we're asking for.
Yep, exactly. And you'll have a comment on here from Mark Nash. It says, Gary's doing everything to make this fight happen. No cap. Yep. It's like, hey, he's like, yo, you want this fight. And you know what I'm saying? You wanted to, definitely do what it takes in order to make this fight happen because, you want to make history. Like you said, go up 2 divisions and win a world championship in the lightweight division,
Against the guy that don't nobody want to fight.
Yep. And it's the thing, too. It's
I want to challenge myself. I'm a real competitor.
Mm-hmm.
I look for obstacles so I can overcome them. I look for a tough task to do, so I can accomplish it. I strive for excellence. I push myself to be greater. Why not? Why not attempt to?
Mm-hmm. And like I was saying before, I mean, it's, kind of like respect both ways. But, with Devin Haney, he's young. Like you've always said, he's young. He has that, type of confidence, bravado. So it kind of like seems like he's speaking out of pocket. But when it comes to like Bill Haney knows it's all business and it's all respect and things like that. Like from what I've heard, he's never really, spoke out of line to you or, anybody that you're affiliated with. So, with him, it's like, we just want to make the fight happen and see what the terms will be and try to iron out those terms. And once both sides agree, then it's all a go.
That's it. That's all. It's all a go. I'm ready to make it happen.
Definitely.
I'm ready to make it happen.
Yeah, feel you on that. And like you said, you get through that, and then, hey, 47 may be next.
Hey. Matter of fact, shit, ain't 35 weight class that Mikey Garcia realistically can't.
Yep.
Yeah, he's sticking his finger in people. He want to keep, sticking his nose in people's business. Hey, I beat motherfucker shorty ass. Mikey can get it too.
Mm-hmm.
I will beat Mikey ass. Mikey, Mikey is his. Listen, and he got the nerve to say something slick. You know what I'm saying? He fought motherfucker Earl Spence. Yeah, he won 12 rounds, but he survived. He just survived. He didn't even try to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
If it was me, I would have fucked around and probably. I'm one of them fighters that rather get knocked out trying to knock a person out than to just survive. Mikey was just surviving.
Yep.
Man, I would beat Mikey ass too. Mikey can get it too, man. I hope they don't bullshit and play these games and this contract come right because Shorty in the way. I'm gonna cook his little boots. Mikey gonna get it. Mikey can get it. Terrence can get it. You know what I'm saying? Tank, he already been running. I think he probably run his whole career. I don't know. He probably run his whole
he was also talking spicy, but I mean we've been saying for the longest. Like
man, these guys talking, man. These guys faking.
Yes, it's crazy out there because it was the whole thing with Tank. Yeah, he was talking spicy, but I'm like, we talked about trying to make that fight over in the DC area for about at least 5 months.
Right, I don't even care, man. Man, what's his man? Look, he got people in his own gym that say I'm one of his favorite fighters. I'm their favorite fighter, man. I ain't thinking about Tank. They ain't saying Tank is his favorite fighter. They say Gary Russell Jr. is his favorite fighter. Stop this shit, man.
Yeah, you talk about Mikey Garcia. Yeah, he was the former WBC champion at 135 before, going up to 147 to fight Errol Spence. And like you said, man, yeah, he was
going up to 147 to get that ass beat and survive.
Yeah, he was like holding on to, pretty much holding on to, their life and all this joint.
He ain't even attempt to fight back. What type of shit is that? He ain't even attempt to fight back. Like I said, I'm one of those guys. The motherfucker would have ended up trying to knock me out because I'm trying to knock a motherfucker out. I ain't going. You gonna have to take me out on my shield. You gonna have to take me out on my shield.
Yeah, man.
I ain't just going to ball up and just let you hit on me and survive. I don't work that way.
Yeah, I feel you. Now I think you got another person on here with us. YSM, you got us?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yo, I just want to tell Gary, thank you for giving the fans exactly what they want when they want it. I love this fight. I favor you in this fight, and I can't wait.
Man, I appreciate the support, man. And look, just like I tell everybody that is a real fan that genuinely support me, energy goes nowhere, man. Energy is only transferable. So when you see me fight, and if this fight comes to fruition, and I'm sending this shit, man, I don't give a fuck where you at. Throw some punches in the head for me. Throw some punches in the head. We in this shit together.
Yo, I'm curious to see how you look without having to drain weight.
Oh my goodness. See, man, it's a lot of factors, man, that people not paying attention to, man. Trying to tell y'all.
Hey, I know your father. Like your father told me months ago that you were pretty much around that weight as it is, and this was months ago, and you were still cracking. So, like, ain't nothing changed. Nothing with the speed changed. Nothing with all of that changed. It's just, hey, as long as we get it to 135, or at least we below 135, it's a go, and that's all it takes.
It's a go. It is a go. That's all it takes, man. Man, listen, I wish I can stay on this longer, but I got my wife and the baby. I got a gang. I got 5 beautiful children. My anniversary is 24th of this month. Me and my wife, man, been married for 9 years, man. So that's a big thing.
Oh man, yeah, that's what's up, man. Yeah, 2 weeks, man. You've been busy with birthdays and anniversaries over the past about 2 months. Like, goodness.
That's really about it, man. You know, we've been together for about 12 years. You know, but we've been married. We'll be married for 9 on the 24th of this month. But I got the babies and the missus. I mean, baby and the wife. I mean, the children and stuff. I got them. I had to step off real quick to handle it with y'all, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Thank you very much for joining us on this thing, man. And hey, we will be on the lookout once this joint official is on, because we've been pushing for this fight here with you, boy. So you know what it is. Once it's official, you know we gonna scream to the top of the hills on this joint.
Man, thank you, man. Like I said, to the real fan, I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Man, stay tuned, man. Stay tuned.
All right, no doubt, my man. Thanks for joining in, man.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of y'all night.
All right, no doubt, man. No doubt. Oh man, that was great there with the WBC featherweight champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. and Jamil. At least you were able to get on just in time, because once you said that thing was 5 minutes, I was like, oh, I hope Gary could hold on for a few more minutes, because I was thinking that he was about to get off the phone around this time. So you got in just in time for that joint, man.
Yo, I wanted to touch on this thing. I saw Mikey's interview, right? And Mikey talked about like, Gary Russell, like who? Like he, basically like he's irrelevant. It's
Right.
like, Mikey, nobody cares about Mikey Garcia right now.
Yeah,
this
no
is
one's checking for him.
This is the number one topic in all of boxing. Gary, Bud. And Mikey doesn't have a big fight. Gary's probably facing the number one. He's a champion now, but the number one prospect in boxing, like the number one youth. Yeah. So I'm just excited, man. I'm not even speaking as a journalist right now, as a fan. Like, I want this fight.
Yeah. And the thing with Mikey, it's funny that Mikey is talking spicy because like he had, big aspirations, for this year. He had his fight with Rick DeMar. God darn it, Jesse Vargas over in the Dallas area, and he got that win, and he was, aspiring to try to get himself in the running to fight Manny Pacquiao. That's, always been, basically his plan was to go up to 147 and to eventually fight Manny Pacquiao. The whole thing with Errol Spence Jr. was kind of like secondary. He wanted to just be the one to be put in a position to, fight Manny Pacquiao there at 147. And now with this whole thing with the pandemic or whatnot, it's very unlikely that Manny Pacquiao is going to be fighting next year. And given the whole thing with next year, it might be up in the air as far as like when Manny Pacquiao will be ready to fight. So if Mikey's trying to get in on that action, I'm not sure if that's going to, be the case, particularly if we have the whole thing with the Spence Garcia fight, happening in November. Then maybe Manny Pacquiao's next fight will be against the winner of those two, fighters there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Mikey Garcia is kind of like holding the L for this half of the year so far.
Bro, he was sitting there. He was talking like he was Floyd or something. Like dude. The last time we saw you in a meaningful fight, you was getting your ass whipped, then putting your hand up like you won the round. Like, come on, man. Come on, Mikey. That's not your line. Like, you're not that dude. Like, you just beat Jesse Vargas. Wow.
And Jesse Vargas, and he couldn't take out Jesse Vargas. And Jesse Vargas rocked him at the, in the last round. Like, you score a knockdown and you couldn't follow through and take out Jesse Vargas. Like, you got to be able to do that if you want to consider yourself one of the top guys in 147, if you want to stay at 147. But
exactly.
if you want to be bouncing back and forth and fighting Errol Spence and then coming back next year and fighting Jesse Vargas, and then you want to say, I want to fight a Manny Pacquiao or Keith Thurman or any one of those guys, you're not really showing anything that like tells people, oh, wow, like Mikey Garcia is going to be seriously considered to be, a pound for pound, top guy. But he hasn't really given anyone that type of, thought with the performances that he's had over the past, year, 2 years. So that's kind of crazy there from Mikey Garcia, man. While I do, have you on here, we were talking about this whole thing with Gary Russell Jr. and Devin Haney, Gary and Bud. The other topic was the whole thing with Canelo. And, that one, I didn't really kind of, get into that here in this report. But, man, Golden Boy pulled a fast one on John Skipper, man, because if I'm going by the report from Coppinger, they were able to do the deal with Canelo for it to be that lucrative. But when it came to the overall budget for the rest of the Golden Boy, roster, it wasn't even freaking like it was. Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Like, it was almost like 10 million a year or something like that. You know, it was almost 10 million a year for these other cards that they were, you know, having under the Golden Boy banner. So whether it was Golden Boy on the Zone, the actual the Zone, or, you know, trying to have something on through Facebook or whatever they had, like they really didn't pay off those guys that were in part of those cards. And so that is why you also had the issue between Golden Boy and Ryan Garcia, when Ryan Garcia falls under that particular annual budget that, you know, Golden Boy has. So that's kind of a, you know, that's kind of an issue there when it comes to Golden Boy handling things. And the thing with John Skipper, I was like John Skipper really, you know, got him he really put DAZN in a precarious position there in this instance, because, you know, they, even though it's, you know, DAZN and Perform Group and all of that, like they really didn't want to spend, you know, that much money as far as like for just boxing. Like the whole thing about, oh, DAZN wants to take over boxing. I really don't know where this came from. That's basically coming, like Matchroom wanted to do that because it's Matchroom Boxing USA. They actually have an office in New York City. So I feel like that is where that part came from. But DAZN kind of like is a time buyer, or like a network, like wants to buy things like the rights to stuff. Digital content is where they kind of like focus themselves on. So having these sports or these sporting events, whether it's in the US or well, not necessarily the UK, but or other countries, if they're able to get the broadcasting rights for that, then that's how they make their money. Everything else, as far as like anything homegrown through DAZN, there really isn't much of that, because you don't see people hired under DAZN for like a camera crew or setting up technical things or anything like that. That's kind of like subcontracted. So they don't really put up that much, you know, for all of that. Everything else is pretty much either handled by the promotional companies or, you know, other organizations. So they're talking about, when some people talk about, oh, DAZN's losing money, I'm not fully convinced of that, given that I don't think they put up that much money to begin with. Plus, they're able to have other groups or other television networks buy events that they kind of cover. So it's not like they're really, you know, losing money in that sense, one. And then two, it's not like they're spending anything out of their budget, because there's no sports content. So whatever they had for the beginning of the year, they still had that type of money. It's just like, you know, it's no different. If we're talking about boxing, it's no different than with ESPN and Top Rank. They hadn't spent their budget once the whole lockdown thing started. They're just starting to spend that budget, or at least they started, a few months ago on June 9th. That's when they started. Same case goes with the whole thing with PBC and Fox and Showtime. They haven't spent their budget yet. So now that they're having their fights, that budget is starting to deplete. So I don't see where they say DAZN is in trouble in that sense. But when it comes to the thing with Canelo Alvarez, man, that's going to be very messy. And we weren't talking about Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is one that was under Top Rank and had himself a contract issue, and that dragged on for 2 years. So he was out of action for 2 years. Andre Ward had this little spat with Goose and Tudor Promotions. That court proceeding, it kind of lasted about 8 months or so when the judgment came down. But after that, Goose and Tudor and Andre Ward, they didn't really have anything going. And Andre Ward pretty much sat out, for, about 2 years himself before he was able to get himself back into the ring. So hopefully with Canelo Alvarez, that it doesn't get to that particular point, because it's, he's basically the biggest fighter in sports or in boxing. But for me, I don't think he's really as big as people think he is. It's not like he's Oscar De La Hoya, and it's not like he's Floyd Mayweather. What I mean by that is Oscar De La Hoya had a whole bunch of people that liked him. Floyd Mayweather had a whole bunch of people that hated him. But either way, people watched or people paid to see them fight, regardless if they liked them or hated them. Either they want to see them win or they wanted to see them lose. You really don't get that with Canelo Alvarez. He doesn't really have that type of appeal. He was built to be like the next Oscar De La Hoya. But the problem is he can't necessarily market himself to the general public in America like Oscar De La Hoya could, because he's, straight up Mexican all the way through. Spanish. He doesn't really speak English. I think he understands English, but he doesn't speak it. And you limit yourself from a marketing standpoint outside of the sport of boxing when you do that. Does he have a few endorsements? Yes, he does. But he would have a lot more if he was, speaking English like, Oscar De La Hoya and stuff like that. Like when it comes to the whole thing with endorsements and sponsorships and, who athletes are affiliated with, take Anthony Joshua, for example. Look at the things that he's, involved with, including Hugo Boss or Beast by Dre, or you could, come up with, Under Armour, all of that. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily get that with Canelo Alvarez. And the whole thing with that is you have that on one side, and then the other side is you really don't have a big fight for Canelo Alvarez or an opponent for Canelo Alvarez that says, oh my goodness, you know what? Stop the presses, stop everything. Canelo's fighting such and such. This is the biggest fight in boxing. Like Canelo, I can't name anyone that he could face that it would be the biggest fight in boxing right now. You had Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. At that time, that was the biggest fight in boxing. Now, with Canelo Alvarez, who are guys that he hasn't faced yet? Caleb Plant, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo. You go up to 175. You got, Dimitri Bivol. You got Artur Beterbiev. Are those fights big enough to say, okay, this would be the biggest fight in boxing? I don't see it. So he needs something. He needs a dance partner or a few dance partners that make that contract make sense. But the problem is that's something that John Skipper should have seen ahead of time before making that 11-fight, $365 million deal, with the front end of the first fight being $15 million, and then everything else being an average of $35 million per fight. So that's kind of like what I feel about that one there. And, with that being said, I'm putting a close to this midweek report. Not sure if Brother Terrell is still with us, but if you got any closing remarks, go right ahead. Well, it looks like, he's, I don't know if Terrell is out shopping or in the gym or something like that, but, I want to thank him for, coming on here on this particular thing with the Midweek Report. And of course, thanks so much for the WBC featherweight champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., coming on to join us and talk about the whole thing with Devin Haney. And we have, the update on his side. Like I said, the rematch clause is put on there. from Devin Haney's side. But like Gary Russell Jr. said, I'm like, if you're going to have that rematch clause, it's going to have to be on our terms because we are the ones that came down from 1.5 million. I mean, from 2 million to 1.5 million to try to get this fight closer to reality. And so with that being said, if we get this win, that rematch, that's going to have to be more on our side and on our terms. So he was able to, explain that in detail. And like I said, we're going to be on the lookout and watching to see when this fight actually becomes official, hopefully by, the next couple of days or early next week. But until then, we will have the Boxing Source Radio Show podcast live Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to check that out through currently Blog Talk Radio and through Anchor.fm. And this will be also on Anchor.fm later tonight. So thanks for Terrell, Matthew Brown, Mike on Sports, Mark Nash, my man Hardcore Boxing News, the president of the Deontay Wilder fan club, Mr. Matthew Brown, all of y'all for joining us here tonight. And like I said, check us out Sunday night, 7:30. We out. Peace.